What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Cloud Pilot podcast. In this podcast, it's going to be a little different today because we are going to discuss about a technology. I have found one of the experts who is best in this technology, Ansible. So let me welcome Gineesh Madapparambath to our Cloud Pilot podcast, and we'll be discussing about Ansible today. Welcome, Gineesh bro. Thank you for accepting my request and happy to have you here.
Thank you, Udesh, for this session and for giving me the opportunity to talk about Ansible.
So you have been a technical instructor, course creator, and doing a lot of things for the community on open source technologies. So I'm very much curious about knowing your journey from you were right here in Kerala, you are now in Singapore. How was your journey from Kerala to Singapore, and how did your journey transition from from a normal Malayali to somebody who is creating tech courses internationally?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, thank you for the session as well, and for giving me the opportunity to talk about this Ansible and all those things. But I'm interested. About my journey. Actually, basically, I'm from Calicut, a small district in Kerala, India, and I started my career as a computer instructor or computer teacher, and then I became a customer engineer or system administrator, whatever we call, to support multiple local customers near my hometown about 20 years ago. After working with few companies in India, I moved to Malaysia in 2012. Then I have worked there with three companies, including Citibank, T-System, and few other companies. Then I moved to Singapore in 2019. Since the beginning of my career, I supported both Windows and Linux platforms, but at some point, Linux became my favorite choice for any solutions and started exploring more Linux-based solutions and deployments. Yeah, like that. So even for the jobs, I decided, okay, I prefer Linux-based jobs rather than the Windows support or anything, non-Solaris, nothing else. So that time the virtualization and cloud were not in the picture. It was there, but it was not that popular. And we have to do most of the deployment or installation manually. It was not easy to handle such large deployments with hundreds of physical servers or bare metal servers in a single batch. Sometimes we had to deploy like 3 or 4 blade centers. So blade centers will have like 16 blades. That means we have almost 100 servers to deploy in 2 days or 3 days. So it was very difficult. So I started exploring whatever automation options around, like the simple bash script or shell scripts, then some Perl scripts alternatives, then of course Python scripts. But it was not that effective. The first issue, I read the script, or maybe one of my colleagues developed the script. It was not easy to collaborate, or it was not easy to share. So even if I share with someone else, he won't be able to understand in a single look. If there is anything, any bug or something, he has to add some feature. He has to learn the script, what it's doing and all. So it was not easy. So I was looking for something very standard, a simple tool like Ansible that I didn't hear. So since I tested Ansible, I think it was somewhere in 2017. I realized the easiness and simplicity of this tool. So next year, I requested for the official Ansible training in 2018 somewhere. It was not easy to justify because that tool was not popular. So I have to justify, okay, Ansible is the future. It's a great automation tool. So I managed to justify, and thanks to my manager, he approved the training. So I attended the training. So it was an official Red Hat training from a training center. So that was like kind of I got some good insight. Okay, this is Ansible, this is the core thing, and we have this tool. Yeah, I got better idea. Since then, I use Ansible, only Ansible if there is an opportunity for automating a task. No more Bash, no more Python. Like I realized, okay, Ansible is very simple and easy, so I can share this playbook with anyone else, so they can also modify and reuse it. Yeah. So what else? So yeah, at that time I was testing and using these containerized workloads for the local environment, like for our own small applications, codes, and I started learning Kubernetes kind of tools, like there was Kubernetes, then Docker Swarm kind of things. So I think after a year, I found some opportunity internally in my company, but different client, different account. So I requested, I applied internally, and I got the job, like internal transition only, but it was an OpenShift support team for multiple clients. So that was kind of it was a turning point, because I was working with OpenShift and Ansible full time. So only OpenShift and Ansible, no system engineering, no deployment. It's fully like container automation, that kind of track. So since then, I focus on these tools primarily, and also other DevOps side tracks like Jenkins, Terraform, whatever the supported task, supported skills needed. Yeah, I started practicing like that. So yeah, that's what the shortest summary maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty much incredible journey over the 20 years. It's not really a small task. So, as we have the topic for today, which is Ansible, which I've been hearing for a very long period of time, perhaps maybe around the past 2 to 3 years, I've been hearing about Ansible. Even while I was in college, I was so active on LinkedIn, and I saw, Ansible going here and there. So I was just pretty much curious to know, because even in my current company, in my current role, it's actually required to at least know Ansible at a basic level in order for somebody to be prepared well. Even as I work as a cloud engineer, in fact, I also had worked on a project where Ansible was required. So it's becoming a trendy, the future technology, which as we kind of anticipated. So, our audience would be eager to know what is, Ansible, and people would be more interested to know more about Ansible.
Ansible is a free and open source automation tool that you can deploy and use with very minimal resource. So you can install these on a small laptop, virtual machines, or even inside a Docker container. Technically, this machine which you install Ansible is called Ansible Engine or Ansible Control Node. So that's a main thing. So on Ansible Control Node, you keep your playbooks, all those things. I will explain that one. Then you can automate your managed nodes or remote nodes or whatever you call, such as virtual machines. It can be servers, it can be network devices, it can be cloud platforms like AWS, GCP, also container platforms like Kubernetes, OpenShift. Yeah, you can automate all these items using Ansible. Ansible is not running as a service on this control node. So it's just a simple process, like when you do the PS minus EF or you do LS minus L. So it's just executing the task and finish. That's it. So it's not running as a daemon or service. So basically, Ansible will use the standard connection methods such as SSH, WinRM for Windows, or HTTP API, etc., to access the remote nodes or manage nodes and execute the automated task. That's a basic functionality. So you have the control node and you have the managed nodes or platforms which you want to automate. How Ansible will know what to automate or what does to execute on the remote node? So this is where you use the Ansible playbook. So you can just execute the Ansible command. That's just for the debugging purpose or something like quick task. But for the workflow or full automation, you will write Ansible playbooks where you include the task to be executed, like install the package, restart the services, create a virtual machine, all those things. So the playbooks are very simple text files, human readable text files. You don't need any scripting knowledge to understand what is written inside the playbook. Playbook is using the YAML format, the same YAML format which we are using for the Kubernetes, OpenShift, same thing, but it's more like Ansible-based index for the modules and task files. So Ansible is using a lot of modules. So it's a more modular way, like you want to deploy something, you want to install something, use a specific module for doing that. You want to install a package on the Linux, Red Hat Linux machine or CentOS, then we know the command is em. So instead of executing the command directly, we will be using a module called em. If it's a Ubuntu, there will be a module called apt. So like that, we have different modules for different functionalities. So like if you want to restart the service, of course, we are using the service module. You want to create some virtual machines in AWS, there is a module available for creating the virtual machine or rebooting the virtual machine or all those operations. So these modules, we don't need to worry about the modules because thanks to the community, because they are contributing a lot of modules, thousands of modules, connection plugins to these repositories or different repositories, and we can use it free of cost. Actually, there are different methods to get these modules. You can deploy the modules from official repository from the vendors. Like you want to automate the AWS infrastructure, then you can get it from AWS official, or you can use the community version of the same modules, but one portion is like, it's a more like QA tested, more better QA thing. Like also you can get the collection or the modules from Red Hat, which is like a certified collection. Of course, you need to get, you should have the subscription. It's not free. There are different things, so it's mainly for the subscription. But so for us to use it as a free, you can get it from the internet, and the location is called Ansible Galaxy. Like the hub, you have the Docker hub, you have the Docker images, you have Terraform module repository, then you have a Kubernetes Helm repository. Like that, for Ansible, we have a Galaxy where community members are contributing the modules, roles, collections, everything there. So you can play, download, and use it. Of course, it's not recommended to download and use it blindly. We have to verify it, make sure it's suitable for our environment, it's all good, that kind of thing. And because the community is very large, the number of modules are increasing every day. They are improving everything. Let's say you have a new API version from VMware or new API version from AWS. So that within a few days, you will get the up-to-date API modules for this Ansible. So you don't need to worry about that. So that's a good thing about it. Also, you get the official modules from the vendors like VMware, AWS, or Google. You can get it. So this is a basic about Ansible. So you have the control node, then you have the playbook to execute, then you have the managed nodes, and using the standard connection. So this is a very simple description about Ansible. You don't need a very complex infrastructure resources to deploy and use Ansible. You can simply install it on your workstation.
Awesome. That was indeed a good description about Ansible. So, Ansible, I think it falls under configuration management. So, is it?
Not really. Ansible you can use for configuration management. So configuration management is one of the use cases with Ansible. So you can use it for configuration management, like configuring something inside the system. Then you can use it as a infrastructure automation tool. Like we have Terraform. So we cannot compare with the Terraform and Ansible because we never compare like Terraform versus Ansible. Instead, we can call it Terraform plus Ansible, because Terraform is very good at handling the infrastructure, provisioning, managing the infrastructure. But you can do the same thing with Ansible, but Ansible do not have this state file thing. You have to manage this state file. You have to there is no state file. You have to verify before you create or delete the resources. But with the combination, you can get the good result, like provision the infrastructure for using the Terraform and use the Ansible to configure the VM, installing packages, creating the user, deploying some applications like that. So it's not just a configuration management tool. It's more like you can do it. I would say you can use it for anything inside the IT infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was coming to that point where, whether if there is any alternatives to Ansible, which we could use any specific use cases?
Personally, we have used Ansible for a lot of use cases, from configuration management to provisioning. We have deployed several use cases for the network automation, like provisioning the first level network configuration. For example, you have a new network switch or that kind of router. So you can use Ansible to configure the end-to-end. You just need access to the network device. All the configurations, all the VLAN information, interface information will be configured automatically within seconds.
Okay.
Usually it will take 2 or 3 days for a network engineer to configure. Then we have use cases like you can configure the network devices like FortiGate, firewall, F5, or your Akamai Infoblox devices. All those things you can automate using Ansible. There are hundreds of modules for that one. You don't need to you don't need to manually write any Python script. If you don't have any modules available, still you can use the API calls. So that's a good thing. So still you can automate. So those are the normal use cases. But I found many using Ansible for automating the provisioning of cloud infrastructure into via the Terraform. Then they mix it with Jenkins pipeline, Tecton, all those things. Yeah, it's possible.
How does Ansible automate these things? Is there any particular working process behind it?
You look around your workplace, right? So you have different tasks. So what you want to automate is the task which you are repeating every day. Okay, for example, one team require the information about some servers, some 100 of servers or maybe 500 servers. They need the operating system version. So maybe you have some Python scripts or some small scripts to fetch this information and create some reports, then CSV. So you can start with that because you are doing that every day maybe or every week. Another one is, okay, you are doing the OS patching. Now you are doing once in 6 months. That means it's very big risk actually, because you are supposed to patch it whenever it's available. Okay. So this one, you need a lot of time and a lot of efforts. Engineers need to log into the machine, maybe in the midnight, because you can do it only after office hours or kind of thing. So we find the use case first, then we check the feasibility. Okay, can we use Ansible? Because we have to spend some time to develop the playbook, test it, make sure it's working. So if you think, okay, I spend 1 day and I can save 10 days, then yeah, it's a good use case. But if you are deploying a cluster once in 5 years and you want to automate it, not a big use case, because you don't know when you are going to deploy it again, maybe next year or every 1 year, and it's a rare use case. But still it's okay if you are doing this regularly, otherwise not good, because by that time the technology will change. Maybe you are using different cluster thing, kind of thing. So we find the use case first, make sure it's feasible, it's good to proceed with that. Then you find the best modules. So most of the time you find you have the good modules available in the repository, so you can use that. You don't need to write any custom modules. But I found some customers, they want to automate some very customized things, some tasks, like they want to retrieve some emails, then process it, attach, detach kind of thing. So they use custom modules. So you can write custom modules, your own modules, using Bash or Python or any other supported language. So that's still possible, but the issue is you have to maintain the module. So let's say there is a new version of the Python or new version of something, then you have to test it and update it. Every software is like that, right? So that's the difficulty. So this is what. So once you have the use case, once you have the module details, you start developing the playbooks. The main issue here is like for the normal Linux or Windows kind of use cases, you can simply create the lab and test it. It's less like a small, even on your laptop VirtualBox, you can create it. But these kind of use cases such as like Kubernetes, or you want to automate some network devices, you need the lab. That's a difficult part I found, because many I found, even when we talk with the other members, right, in the groups or community, they say they don't have the lab. So if they are testing on the production, or maybe if they are lucky, they will test it on the UAT. But I don't do that, because we don't know what Ansible is doing in the background, what will happen. So once we have this thing, we are okay. You should set up your own lab. I mean, officially, because it's your office thing. So you can get some machines or those some UAT machines or UAT devices and do it. So once tested, there are official methods to test this Ansible. We have automated testing, like you can use a pipeline for testing. Same Jenkins pipeline, Circle CI or GitHub. You have some options here, and make sure it's perfect, because you develop the playbook and you are doing this testing manually. Then yeah, same story. The developers doing. So we had to automate. So same case, because consider Ansible playbooks as a software code. So you do the code, do the CI/CD for the testing, syntax check, all those things. Make sure it's working. That's a official recommended way, but most of the case people do manually. So they edit it, test it, edit it, test it.
How do you think is going to be the demand for Ansible? What is its current demand, and how is your forecast that on the way going forward? How demanding would Ansible be?
Even when we ask, okay, what is the alternative for Ansible? We can say few names like Puppet, Chef. There are few other, but it's not like it's not a kind of a mutually replaceable. They have their own features. Ansible has its own features. The first thing is Ansible is agentless. So you don't need to install any agent on the managed nodes to automate. That's the first thing. Some other tool have this functionality, but it's not really like very simple like Ansible. So you have to set up a lot of things, do the configuration inside the server kind of thing. It's not a kind of a client server model. Demand wise, we know the support is very wide. Like Ansible is used everywhere. Now, even in the CI/CD pipelines, infrastructure provisioning, then simple configuration management. I can see we can do most of the IT infrastructure resource management using Ansible. The second thing is like you can integrate Ansible with most of your IT infrastructure automation tool, IT infrastructure tool. Like you have a Jira using for your ticket management or service, ITSM you call. So you can integrate ITSM, the Jira or ServiceNow or Remedy, whatever the tool you are using, you can integrate with Ansible to automate. Like you raise a request in the Jira or ServiceNow. In the backend, you can trigger this Ansible job, and Ansible will do the job and return the results. So let's say you are to create a virtual machine, you can create the dashboard with the ServiceNow. In the backend, Ansible will do the job and give the result. Okay, this is created, or a password reset, or anything like that. So it's possible. That's a good thing. So the integration is very good. Then most of your DevOps tools like Jenkins, Terraform, whatever the CI/CD tools or deployment GitOps tool, you can see Ansible can be used inside to automate the provisioning or configuration management. So that's a good thing. I can see the demand.
How do we start learning Ansible from scratch, and who are those target people which we can look up to for learning Ansible? So if any person has experience with some particular set of tools, if which resembles Ansible, or if has something to do with Ansible, how easy would it be for them, and how is it easy for people who are starting from scratch?
For learning Ansible, first thing, there are questions when we talk about Ansible. They will ask, okay, do I need to know like programming? The answer is no. You don't need to know programming to learn Ansible, because Ansible is based on Python. If you know programming, it's good, but it doesn't mean like you should know programming to learn Ansible. Second, you should know Linux, because I told the Ansible is only available on Linux-based platform or Unix-based platform for now. Mac, or it's all based on the Linux.
Yep.
So you should know the basics of Linux, like how to create the file, how to edit the file, all those things. And also, of course, you want to deploy something on Linux, means you should know, okay, what is a yum, what is apt kind of thing. So you should know the basics, very basics. You don't need to be an SME. That's the first thing. If you have that basics, then you can start learning Ansible using any courses. Personally, I recommend to start with some courses. Of course, there are free courses, and of course, there are official courses, paid courses, everything there. But fortunately, Red Hat is offering their basic Ansible course free of cost. So anyone can just Google DO007. Then they just go DO007 and Ansible or something like that. They will find on top of the result about the Red Hat Ansible course, which is free. Either they can attend from the Red Hat or they can attend from Udemy. I think it's several places. The same course is there at several places. So that's the first thing. Then if they are interested, they can go for some paid course later, because if they want to do the official Red Hat course, that's good, actually, very good, because they also provide the lab materials, very level one, but it's very expensive. So unless the company is sponsoring, it's very expensive. But I think India, I think is something 40,000 plus the course plus those things, but it's very good actually. So some of the, maybe if you go to the training center, you get it for some cheaper price. Maybe, I don't know how they are doing that. That's a good thing. So in YouTube, there are many free Ansible courses. So if you need, we can put some links somewhere later. So it's good actually. So to be honest, I'll say you can learn Ansible free of cost. I mean, you can learn. If you really want to go for the production one, like still it's possible. But if you want for the certification or something like that, then of course you have to go for the official course or some paid course, because they will cover the exact curriculum for the exam.
Does Ansible also has a certification?
Yes, Ansible have like few certifications, mainly from Red Hat. There was a certification for Ansible specialist, the EX447, EX407, something like that. But it's already expired last year, I think, or retired. The better word is retired, not expired. It's retired. And they have a new course, EX294 from Red Hat. This course is more on like Ansible order, similar to the old one, but more like system management, Red Hat Enterprise Linux Management using Ansible. And this is also an RSC course. So once you pass the course, you get the RSC, Red Hat Certified Engineer. Very good, actually. So, but you have to complete the RSCSA, the administrator course, together with that. Then, if you are already you already know Ansible, you already certified, then you can go for the advanced course. There are few advanced courses like Ansible Best Practices, Ansible for Windows Management, Ansible for Network Management. There are different courses for Ansible, but all those are like kind of advanced courses specific for these use cases or that pattern.
What advice do you have to give to those aspiring learners who are looking forward to know more about Ansible?
First thing, Ansible is not like read and learn kind of topic. So it's not like that. So you should set up your own lab. Like you can set up your own lab with minimal setup, like even 512 MB memory is enough for your virtual machines to test it, because you are not going to do a lot of things. It's just a connection and installing things. So even with a small, very low resource laptop, you can set up your own lab and practice it. So the practice is a key actually. The second thing, you can find the use cases around, because I found many asking, okay, I learned Ansible, so what should I do next? So I thought, okay, you just search around, you will find hundreds of use cases from your workplace. As I told earlier, you can do automation of your system scanning, like whether these files exist, whether the DNS is configured on all your 1,000 servers. If you have all those things, you can automate. So start with something small, then automatically you can think about something complex like automated patching, automated security update, or automatic Windows patching, or even a simply weekly reboot job. So weekly reboot, you have to log in the midnight, then reboot it. Before reboot, you have to take the snapshot, make sure it's working, take the backup of the configuration files. Then once you reboot, you have to verify, log in and verify all the services are running. Okay, you have 10 services running, DB started, whether DB is able to connect. So you have some 20 tasks to be done as part of the weekly reboot. It's just, it's just one command, but actually you have to do all these pre and post tasks. So you can start with the small use cases from the workplace. That's how you will learn Ansible. Then join the community, because now it's a community learning time. Everything we can learn from community, free of cost or paid or whatever it is. So join the community, the Telegram group, WhatsApp group, whatever you find useful, join it. If you find it's a spam, exit is okay. So in the community, the good thing is like you will find a lot of use cases from different people. They are using it at workplace and they are sharing their experience. Okay, I have this issue when I try to do this. Okay, that's a use case. So and other people will help him to solve this. Okay, you have to do like this, then you have to do like this, refer this, refer this. That's how you learn. So it's a free learning, more interaction, and you can get help. So you are facing some issue when you try to automate something, ask in the community. So it can be a WhatsApp group, it can be a Telegram group, join it. Don't make a silo, just join and keep it. No, don't try to answer. Usually I push people to answer. You try to answer. Maybe it's a mistake, but you try to answer, so you will learn automatically. You find a use case, so I try. That's what I do. So when someone asks, I try here. If I am free, I try here. If I don't know how to do, if all good, I paste the answer. Okay, this is, try this, try like this, try. I don't know it's working, but try this, like that. So that's how they can learn Ansible or any other technology because from community, we can learn a lot. There are many people ready to share their knowledge, ready to teach you. Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much, Gini, for spending your time with us, with our audience, especially for the Cloud Pilot podcast. Sharing those information about Ansible, and I'm sure our audience would also have gained a lot from this specific talk. And any last words?
Enjoy your learning. If anything, you can ping me. I mean, if any questions, you can ping on community groups or LinkedIn or whatever. I'm happy to help if I know the details.
Absolutely. So if you guys don't know, Gini is also available on YouTube with the channel Tech Weekly, and you can do check it out. And thank you so much for listening to us. We'll catch up soon with another guest, another topic in another podcast. Till then, it's me, the Cloud Pilot, signing off. Bye.